Good morning. Guten Morgen. Early today. Episode of Big Games B.S, part of Den Media Group, brought to you by alphamailejacks.com. You're going to really need it this week. Next few days is where they separate the adults from the children. It is going to be a tough one, man. Tough one. Everybody's doing their last minute Christmas shopping. People have not found out about you haven't found out about Amazon and how to just order shit and have it delivered because you're afraid that it might not get there in time and you'll be exposed. But it's better to be exposed than to be unalived. And that's basically what you'll end up having happen to you if you're out there shopping right now. But if you want to be able to survive and control your emotions, you need to go to Alpha Male Jacks right now. Only the strong survive. You got to get deep. Got to get diesel out there. Get stronger. Be able to control your emotions. There's no better way to jumpstart your fitness into the new year than to go check your hormone levels and see what your body's operating like. I would say try to do that sometime next week. Get that blood panel evaluation. Get yourself checked out. And then what you do is you start off the new year with a game plan. And we'll have some great opportunities and some great things for you guys to be able to have better game plans for your overall life and overall fitness. That's the big time sponsor. It's also in the world's greatest cigar lounge, Goodfellas Cigar. A lot of compliments about the backdrop. I'm not gonna lie to you. Even though I do have an affinity, I like guns, I like shooting, and I've been on one hunting trip, and I had a great time on that hunting trip. I'd be lying to you if I said that this stuff was mine. If you've watched the show enough, if you've been around long enough, then you know who Scott is. This is Scott stuff. Scott killed all this shit. So, Peter, don't come after me. Go after the white guy, the Sicilian, who sounds like Stone Cold Steve Austin. But a lot of cool stuff happened. A lot of stuff has happened since the last time we joined. A lot of you guys have collectively lost your minds, which is cool. It happens this time of year. The holiday season, did you know this is like the highest suicide rate? Yeah, So people lose their, like, to kill yourself means you've lost your mind. Like, literally, like you lost your mind because everything our body does is to try to keep ourselves alive. Oh, Wayne asked, what did I hunt? Hogs with explosives. It's really cool. It's like an action movie. A little terrifying when you go with rednecks because you don't know quite how it's gonna go. Like you got to have a little trust in there that they're not gonna make you like one of the. Like I watch these Dateline shows. Like the black lady goes on the girl sleepover trip with all the white women, and she's the only one that doesn't make it back. Like when there's explosives and guns and shotguns and shit, it kind of throws you off. But anyways, also before we get into all the other different things, today is the day that we will be giving away a pair of tickets to the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl. The Tax Slayer Gator Bowl is December 29th at noon. Anyone is eligible, even if you know me. We're not going to do that that whole plan where, you're not in the radio. If you win something, you can't do anything. But I want to I'm going to tell you exactly what these tickets are like. Hold on. I know I got them. Okay, Caitlin sent it because I was mad at Caitlin. I was like, Caitlin, you didn't send me anything. She said she sure did. She sent it to me December 3rd. And I just didn't pay attention to it. So, yeah, we can do that. We can do that. Portal season. It is portal season. I want to read where these tickets are at so you guys can understand what it is that you're getting. Got to log into the shit though. It takes a minute. Unfortunately, y'all know how the Wi-Fi is if you've been watching this for a while. But all that being said, if you're whites only, you have up until 40 minutes into the show. My greenies, y'all can come whenever y'all want to, as long as you make the announcement. I don't know if I want y'all around me for this one. Yeah, no, you're not coming to the chairman's brunch. I can tell you that straight up. Uh, Now, what this ticket includes is a parking pass. This is a pair of tickets, section 147, row K, seats 13 and 14. So what is it? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. The 11 rows up in the end zone. So got a good little seat there. Now, I know what you're thinking. James, everything you do with us is VIP. Yes, I got you, dog. Don't even worry about it. You have Terrace Suite Access Pass. You'll get 2 of those. What this means is now you don't have a seat in the Terrace Club, but you'll be able to go scan your ticket. They'll give you a band, and it's all you can eat, all you can drink. It's like all kinds of nice stuff. Miles, you remember when you were in Terrace Suite for the Jags game? It's like got like shrimp and shit. Like it's very sedity. If it's raining, you get to go in the Terrace Suite and you can enjoy the game from us. It's like they got a place for you to sit down. Now, if you got churn, they don't need to drink the liquor. They just drink the soda. It's good, and they got the good pop. It makes it like that good sound. They got burgers, hot dogs, wings. They got I said they got prime rib, all kinds of stuff. It's great. We're giving away a pair of those tickets. So 2 tickets to the Terrace Club, access, 2 tickets to 2 end zone tickets and a parking pass. 1 parking pass though. So I don't want you to go by yourself. Kentucky's playing Clemson. If you win, you're in. If you don't, you don't. But we'll be giving away a lot more of this stuff as things go on. But just a couple housekeeping notes here. We always go through this. I love to brag on my kids and how well they do. Make sure I'm going down the list the right way. Oh, I did white people shit yesterday. That's why I wasn't on Sporadics. I apologize to my homie Chris. We were supposed to start at 6:30 so I could be done by 8. Did not work that way. Yeah, sometimes shit doesn't work out, but this is what I was looking at.
Talk to him. You gave him.
I guess you can play the.
Do you check to a now screen or a now bubble? Do you have a go-to?
I won't say the name of the person that's talking, but if you know me, you know who that is, who I do my white people shit with. But we are describing his first encounter with a rival coach. And if anybody can guess, matter of fact, I'm going to tell you, because it's going to be too easy. But he's describing a rival coach and what it was like when he first met him and his ability to diagnose X's and O's. Go ahead, push that play.
Gave him answers. I was like, do you check to a now screen or a now bubble? Do you have a go-to? Do you check to different play? And he goes, sometimes you just got to block him up. I was like, oh my God. And we had waited like half an hour to talk to him. You gave him answers. I was like, do you check to a now screen?
That was quicker than I thought it was. That went 15 seconds, but yeah. Yep. Gervin Road. If you're from the Duval area, you know exactly where that was at. A lot of time, it's nowhere near as good as it used to be. We're not going to that shit. Then we spent like 2 hours in IHOP. Not fun. What's this next thing? It's not popping up. I hate it. Yesterday I was out there giving the gifts to the kids. Went to a lot of different schools. We did some filming at Matthew Gilbert. We also went to Longshore Elementary School. They got a black principal. That's an Omega. Threw me off. I was just like, yo, you the principal? Cool. I'll be here every year, bro. Loved it. Giving out the JIT stuff. That's a teacher all the way to the left. And that's crazy when you're the same height as the little people. There was a big ass kid too that I saw. Yeah, that's a teacher to the far left. That's the assistant principal. My bad. That's not a teacher. That's the assistant principal. That's the AP. This is the principal. If you guys have paid attention to me for the last years, I go to Gilbert every year. This principal got a whole wagon. The actual principal. All the fellas attend parent-teacher conferences into that. So yeah. Thank you, Heather. That was nice of you. to say that. Then we got this. I am going to see that this kid is going to get a scholarship somewhere. Y'all going to hear about Teion White probably for the rest of my life. Every kid who I coach after them will probably I'll be like, you ain't Teion. They will probably hate this kid in a decade. But I got to talk about him whenever we do the banquet. Might be the first ever team banquet I purposely skip. And now I'm mad at him too because he's been hooping and playing basketball, and now he looks petite again. But I told him, you don't look like the guy who led the state in rushing, led for him in rushing and scoring. But he won Jags Player of the Year. This is his second for area Player of the Year nomination. It's a damn shame. He plays on a team full of 4 or 5 stars. This is clearly the best player on the team. But I like this kid. They asked him some goofy ass questions, but the gist of it is he won Player of the Year. But go ahead and play that.
I'm Teion White Jr., running back from Manor High School. I got named Player of the Year for the Jags. I'm gonna have to go with Nardo Wick. I've been listening ever since he came up. So I've been making him hard.
You look like a badass little kid.
I'll say all right. Let's go Jags.
Did you see the cleats that he got though? That's the gift they gave him. Oh, really? Yeah, for being Player of the Year. And he has a jersey with Weiss. Yeah. I told him I'm not speaking. I'm not talking about him. And him and Westcott are just two amazing kids. Small, but amazing kids. Love those boys. What they did. Can't wait to see whoever gets those two guys has a fan in their program and a booster. I'm already acknowledging that I'm going to give money to whoever picks those Jets up. So on Wednesday, a lot of shit happened, right? A lot of interesting things happened. Obviously, it was National Recruiting Day, but also in the news. And, this is not just a sports show where we talk about college stuff. We talk about everything that's relative in the news. I grew up in the 90s. That was like, I'm an 80s baby, but I grew up in the 90s. Hip-hop's like when hip-hop was at its mecca. Biggie is like one of my favorite artists. Said some wild shit, but he was hanging out. But most of my friends and my family who are up north say wild shit. But now I didn't realize he was dealing with one of the wildest. I knew Puffy was an oddball. But Puffy is everything that we thought Suge Knight was, except for sassy. Like imagine like I'm telling you, you guys keep throwing around these epitaphs like, oh, that man a GAF. I did it backwards. A gaff. Or this dude is soft, or he's punk, or he's gay. Until you deal with a gay gangster, it's terrible. I also stopped going to the church years ago, and I already knew it when I was coming up, but I ain't gonna lie to you. I was so wild in college in my first couple of years, I needed something to balance me out. That's why I don't hate on people who go. Sometimes you need that checks and balances system. And Matt Drills was that tough. In Matt Drills, I don't know if I've ever described it to people before. In Matt Drills, I found Jesus in Matt Drills. It was so hard that you needed a higher power to get through it. I'm talking about I saw Jesus Cristo. I saw Jesus, the one Christ. I see white Jesus. I seen Chinese Jesus. Bitch, I found whatever. I was grasping for whatever could help me. But I also know when people get manipulated, and I hate that. And I know the church does that a lot. But man, oh man, when I saw TD Jakes trending on Twitter, I wish I did not click that. Because I learned some terms. The community has a whole bunch of terminology that some of us would not use. But on Wednesday, outside of signing day, I learned that TD Jakes was a part of the consonant community, and Bama players were out here slanging rancid meat. We'll get into those topics right here. Did anybody know? I thought power bottom was a wrestling move. Am I the only person who thought that power bottom was like something that The Rock would do? Like, I know he had the rock bottom. There's this rapper that was here the other day, that the fat sad one with the shoes that like look like they're getting a reprieve when he takes them off. He's a bottom boy survivor. Apparently I thought bottom boy, like maybe maybe I was wrong about what. So I saw. So maybe when I was listening to it, people corrected me about that. Like you sit back and you like I'm not void of correction. I'm not like FSU beat media. If somebody corrects me, then I'm like, okay, if that's what y'all are calling a bottom boy survivor, I will no longer think you're gay. But then I heard power bottom. I'm like, shit, cool. I want to do a power bottom to somebody. But then I was like, whoa, wait a minute. No, I don't. A power bottom is Saucy Santana.
Careful, he fight me.
And fucks them.
yeah. He threatens the word.
So apparently, Theodore Jakes, I don't know if that's his real name or not. Just sounded like it. Sounds right. I mean, just gave him a name. What is TD Jakes' real name? Now I'm curious. Oh, okay. It's definitely not that. Thomas Dexter Jakes Sr. is apparently a power bottom. According to Puff Daddy, as the documents from Cassie is not done with Diddy. I appreciate this if this is true for Cassie. Cassie, and apparently the FBI said they need to get they need to know what's going on with Sean Combs. And she released over documents. She released over his Puffy's ex-dead fiance, Kim Porter, her phone, her burner phone, a lot of different things. And in that, there was correspondence about TD Jakes liking to get his cheeks clapped. And he was hanging out at Puffy parties. Doesn't surprise me. The man tastes his words. He also has this great quote where he was talking about, have you ever been swallowed? Have you ever been swallowed up? And I was like, oh, I thought it was hilarious. I was using it like last year, but now I want to know what the connotations of what he was talking about. Has he ever been swallowed? And who he was at, and why was he so adamant on asking people this? But I used to think he looked like the catfish from the blackface cartoons back in the day. Because the Gap and all that other stuff. Thomas Dexter is out here bending over people for Christ. And it brought me to play that. It brought me to this movie. I think it was called For Color Girls. Not that one. Go to the one with Janet. And Janet, this is how I know 50 Cent universe and the Power universe is so powerful. Because nobody brings this up about Ghost. Ghost was in the movie For Color Girls, and he was married to Janet Jackson. And Janet Jackson found out that he was a part of the community. And so she goes and does what, look, I always said, nobody's more homophobic than black women. They tell you that they're for the community, but let them find out that you gay. It might all be all women. But I know, because I hear my white friends talk way too much about gay shit to have not probably speculated, done some, and they're still married to people. But let a black woman find out that you sucked the dick, or you might have thought about sucking the dick. Which is, again, as I always say on this show, it is a conscious choice. There's a comedian that talks about this that I found out yesterday. It was hilarious and thought-provoking. He said he hangs out with a bunch of, he's gone and done speaking and stuff for Down syndrome kids. He volunteers his work. He says there are two things that Down syndrome men like. And they're not all the way up there, but there's their natural instincts. John Cena and pussy. He says you do this to a Down syndrome kid, they know exactly what you're talking about. And vagina. He says, so that makes him think that it might be a choice. But I do believe it's a conscious decision to suck a dick. Shout out to the ladies. Appreciate y'all. That thing is going viral, what you posted up yesterday about moms getting recruited. But shout out to the moms getting recruited and helping their sons further their career using what God gave them. Shane Gillis. He's amazing. Is that the guy who did the transvestites playing in Alabama to get their stuff?
He used to play football.
That guy's awesome. But damn, I really forgot my train of thought with that because that shit was hilarious. Black women being homophobic. Now you find a good black woman that says she had a college experience with a woman. Oh, that's a keeper. I like girls that like girls. That excites me by a great poet by the name of Boosie Badass. It's great connotations. But anyways, Janet Jackson sums up in this clip what every black woman does. But again, Power Ghost got out of this because she goes over, so what you was bending over? And he says with a deep ass voice, who says that I was bending over? Oh, so you was doing the bending? And so it's just like, she wasn't mad that she got cheated on. She's mad she got cheated on by a dude, which is, I ain't gonna lie, that's fucked up. But the point is that one of the most powerful pastors in America that preaches about how bad premarital sex is, that preaches about how bad all of these different things are, I'm sure he's got some messages about, don't be gay. Is potentially gay and caught up. I'm just letting you know that this is why I like Jermaine Johnson in Tallahassee and his church. He's just slutting bitches out. But he ain't bending over for no dudes. You ain't got to worry about him out there tasting his words. But that was what I found out. Then I also found out that an Alabama offensive lineman that a lot of us were excited about, Elijah Pritchett, he entered the transfer portal. And then he took himself out of the transfer portal, and he said it's in my best interest that I do not enter the transfer portal and I stay at Alabama. On 3 releases, Elijah Pritchett was arrested Wednesday for knowingly passing on an STD. So we got pastors bending over, and we got young me out here slanging rancid meat, out here fucking chicks with pimples on the dick. I don't know what his STD was, but apparently that's a crime, and it should be a crime. Yeah, I'm glad. I hope he serves time.
Yeah, for sure.
But there got to be like a different type of punishment that he can get, because they're not gonna mess with him knowing that he has. Will they? Or maybe the guys who are locked up for a long time won't care. But like,
and he's probably huge.
Yeah. Miles, Chris wants to know, did you get pulled into the whitest Christmas moments marathon?
No, I looked at that and thought, there's got to be a fire hazard. Where the fire marshal never comes through?
You know what? That is a good point. But they've been doing it for years. But it wasn't as good this year because of like some of the storms and stuff. I think it's also because people are dying.
What?
Well, yeah, I think they've been doing this for like 20-something years. So these people started this a long time ago. So like, there's no way those people are just still alive. And I'm not doing all that shit. Yeah, like our generation's lazy as fuck. Yeah. Like when it comes to like building shit and like putting stuff together, like just looking at these people with a hammer and nail and then lights and they're up there. I'm like, man, whoever came up with this idea is an asshole. Just some old, this is just a descriptor, some old white macho man that had to prove that I'm more tough than everybody else. So he climbed up there and just did this. And then the other white men said, you know what? Fuck him. I can't let him outdo me. And then the blacks came and said, you know what? If it's good enough for the whites, then it's good enough for me, goddammit. While my Mexican friends were sitting there looking like, bitch, we on the roof all fucking day. Last thing I want to do is get up on the roof again to put up some lights that I'm going to have to take down. That's it. Call it a day. That's why I like our little blow up things. Oh, I got to go find my video with the blow up. They took the Frosty the Snowman. You know, Frosty the Snowman, when you put the hat on him, he becomes alive. So the kids put the hat on Frosty the Snowman, and he came alive. And the girl was happy, and the 2 boys looked at it, and they took the hat off. And then they ran into the house, and they got the blow-up doll. And they came out, and they put the hat on the blow-up doll. It's hilarious, adult stuff, whatever. More hilarious sports moments. What I wanted to talk about on Wednesday, I'm going to talk about it now before I get into the other stuff, the serious things. One of the greatest, and this is a show that I believe could do this, the only show in America that could do this. First Take, it will get too serious. Whatever Skip Bayless and shit, those numbers are doing terrible. Somebody would be able to get a fight. But there was a NFL player, former NFL player, Rashad Mendenhall, brought up something, and it's true. But I love good dialogue and good debate. And I've been having this with a lot of different people. Rashad Mendenhall said we should have an all-black versus all-white bowl game. But the crazy part is, I think the blacks are way too confident. And I wonder what we would do, because there's not a lot of other, but there's got to be a Hispanic. Do we call do we have to identify as black Hispanic or white Hispanic? There ain't but one Asian, so we don't give a fuck where he goes. Oh no, there's a couple of them. There's an Asian linebacker. I want Young Hoku. Decent kicker, but the name is dope. Because that Young Hoku is fuck, man. Yeah, you got to draft the non-ones. But like, it was a really good discussion. Because what made you, what people don't realize is it's a lot, like there are a lot of black players that play football. Right. But the white ones that make it,
but there's no DBs.
But that's where we would get, like, if we can get, if we make it a shootout, it's gonna get ugly really quick. But they have the market on the lineman. Christian McCaffrey, one of the baddest running backs in the game right now. Like, their starters, their 11 on offense is cold. Two top, Cooper Kupp. Their offense is nice now. Kelsey at tight end. Pick a lineman. Now, we do have one of the most dominant linemen. And I say we because I'm black, for those who do not know. I'm just saying that. I'm not pick, but I'm arguing the whites right now. But like I'm saying, the whites' offense is nice. They do. NFL. Yeah. Quarterbacks. We know they got some quarterbacks that can slang it now. They even got the one white quarterback that can play anything. The boy down there in New Orleans. So that's what we would really have to discuss. What does he identify as? He's clear complected. He's Simpson colored, as I call it. But his dad is true. But you know what? It's no question. His dad is clearly a black man. He ain't even no disrespect to one of my favorite mixed families in the Travises, Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis' dad is very black. And but he's cool. Like, he's the one that can, he's like my guy Terrence.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes' dad is like my Uncle Johnny. Like, he black as shit. Like, and that Joe smoking on that Joe Burrow. They had to remember, we showed the blackest segment in all internet sports history with his dad and Marshawn Lynch. It was dangerous out there in Kansas City for them two to be together. Nothing bad happened. It's just too much fun. But it's definitely something where people would have to think about it.
Yeah, this actually is a better.
Now, Blake, my resident Pilgrim lawyer friend here, is watching the show.
I just read that.
Blake brings up very, very logical points here. There is no depth on the Pilgrim squad. That's what we'll call it. That's what we'll call it. I think the blacks, the all blacks versus the all whites is a little too strong. We could do it around Thanksgiving. Team Pilgrim. I don't know what we would call them. I don't know if there's a politically correct way that wouldn't get the NAACP mad. By the way, how could, this is a safe space. I know we haven't talked about the other stuff, but safe space. How could black people, I like the term colored. I don't like colored section like what they did back then, but how can we really get mad when one, like the organization that fights for black rights is called the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People?
I honestly,
like, it's like right there in the title.
That is true. I never thought about it, but I hate the word colored. I'd rather be called.
I think I like it because of how I know what it meant back then. And when I hear an old person say it, like it knows that colored, that it's the R, the E and the R are reversed. Because they can even, but they want to do the other one with the hard ER, but like the colored gives them that opportunity.
It just feels good. Like, you can't even put enough work into name the color. You just, that colored
The
person.
colored person right there.
It could have been Asian, could have been all of them. They all suck.
Blake says to the Team Pilgrim out there, that would be it. It's automatically, it's got to be a home game for Team Blacks, for the All Blacks. So they have all black uniforms. You know what? We've seen this movie before. As Long as Yard.
Is it a
I need Christian McCaffrey to go out there, run the ball hard, and look at the All Blacks and say, "I'm gonna show you how a white man runs the football today." Like what Stone Cold? No, it's Stone Cold. That had to be like one of the hardest lines for him to say. But then again, his character was a dick as a wrestler. But like, I just know he's one of my favorite Pilgrims. You're right. We have no. It's like it's so unbalanced that it makes it even. We don't have any special teams. Like dead serious. Have y'all ever seen an inner city school special teams? It is hilarious. Like Mandarin, I'm shocked we made it this state. We didn't, and we're not an inner city school. It's just Duval County schools don't have any. All the fucking kickers live in St. Johns County. It is embarrassing, bro. They got a backup and a starter on fucking JV of kickers who can kick it 40 yards or more. Like I want to kidnap the backup kicker from put it out there. The backup kicker for JV at not Bishop Kenny, at Bartram Trail could start at Mandarin High School.
When does this segregation start? If it starts that early, how?
Well, think about it. I'd say the truth. It's ESPN's fault. They don't show the kickers. And when we little black boys want to be on TV so that we can be rich and your kicker's not getting up there. You know who they show all the time? They show the wide receivers. They show the DBs. They show the running backs. They show the quarterbacks, but we knew for years we had to fight that one. We got some now, but we had to fight it. But the kickers are not what anybody wanted to be. But there were... Because as the Kelsey brothers broke it down, it's just, they have codes. Even the white, everybody have codes. Like, bro, like Toby said it best. I'm going to put my godson's dad out there. When we lined up Tion, All-State as slot, he said he told our quarterback, he looked him dead in the face at Gainesville playing in the championship game for their 7-on-7. He said, if he threw it to somebody else, he said, motherfucker. If I put Tion out there and they put a white linebacker over there, I don't give a fuck who's open. You throw it at him. That is why the game was made this way. But they stand out. Remember, we got a viral video with the Iowa DB that ran really, really fast. People acting in the comments like a white boy running a 4.4 is a common occurrence. It's a reason they get drafted high. It's a reason the NFL and sports uses certain terminology. ESPN. You can close your eyes and know exactly how they're going to describe everybody on Team Pilgrim. And here comes the starters for Team Pilgrim. Man, just a really hard-working group of guys that come out here. They're just dedicated to the game. They study hard. They watch film. They're a delight to coach.
Madden does it too, the awareness behind it.
They're the first one. Look at how early the Team Pilgrim got on the field. They're on the field doing warm-ups, breaking it down. They're just so technical about it. Like just everything is just right there. The All Blacks come out. Which funny thing is, if you like rugby, you want to get an introduction to rugby, go look up All Blacks in rugby. They're really good. They're I was about to say this is Zamunda, but it's definitely not that. It's New Zealand. I don't know where my mind was going with that. It's just I love the combine every year. I know exactly who they're talking about. And it ain't nobody else. But it was a great dialogue. It was good for, it's like one of those pure timeline, like cleansing timeline things. There is a time, there's sometimes good times for us to talk about our differences because it shows how silly they are and how similar we are, but we can laugh at some of the different things. Blake does have this. He has talked about it. He has a strict anti-Pilgrim in the secondary. Like when we played St. Augustine High School, another team that went to the state championship and lost like all of the. We played them in the spring game. They put a white DB over Jamie French in squat press coverage. Jamie felt disrespected. Jamie, and then Bishop Kenny did the exact same thing. Jamie's looking at them like, what the fuck are these white boys watching on film? He said, now I have to show. Like, they looked at Toby and Toby said, we're trying to show other things on film right now. This is a spring game. No, don't do it. Then they did it again, and he said, well, fuck it. Run that shit up. Jamie, pop, puts his hand up in the air. The kid didn't stand a chance. Who does that to the kid in the spring game? It's the end of May. So they got fined. This kid had a final that he had to study for all week that he probably failed. Girlfriend could have broke up with him. Oh, speaking of that, my pilgrim godson has a girlfriend now. His mom hates it. It's awesome. I love it. I love Rebecca. When we were doing our white people shit, she was mad. She's the one who starts all the white people shit. She's the reason we do the white people shit. But she was mad the whole time because my godson has a girlfriend now, and she doesn't like the girl. And I had to tell her, like, this is the girl. I said, Toby, and they've been together with each other since high school. I said, that shit doesn't work. It only works for you guys. Yeah. This girl won't be here next year. Yeah. I was like, she might not be here at the end of the semester. Yeah, I don't even understand that, man. Chad, my teammate from Florida State, I'll never forget when I heard Mickey Andrews tell my roommate Kyler Hall that he should feel blessed to be even on the team. He said, do you know how good you have to be a white DB and play for me? He said, I don't recruit whites. Mickey Andrews is a very old white man from Alabama. Oh, okay. That told another white kid, I don't recruit you. Sports narratives that happen, and Blake will like this. Again, one more pure thing. Before I get into that, so again, me and JJ talk. Everybody remembers my old producer retention. And JJ, we were talking because one of my kids signed to Miami. They wanted to get him on. We were reminiscing about back in the day and how wild our show was and how we would all probably be fired at this point. But it was something good to this. Like, have you heard about the Anthony is it Anthony Edwards or the young man who the NBA guy? So, but have you heard about him paying the chick $100,000 for the abortion? No. Yeah, he shot up a girl club. There is a video moment of him and Zion embracing each other. And Zion said, hey man, I really like your game. Your game is good. Now we know Zion more famously for Mariah Mills and shooting up another chick's club and getting her pregnant, but won't get the ant body bitch pregnant. But Anthony got a girl pregnant. The girl did what all young chicks do these days. She released the DMs and the text messages. And my man was like, she said, I'm pregnant. And he was like, all right, so how much you need to get rid of it? And we've put so much pressure on these people that they can't say real shit. I would have said the real thing too. Like, I wouldn't have shot up the club so quick. But he's a young man. But he had to put out a statement. And I hate this statement because I know he doesn't mean it. He's got money. And the girl went up there to get a bag. And the thing that he's got to learn is you don't give the money until you get the results. Maybe put a deposit on it, but don't give the money until you get the results. He said, I made comments in the heat of the moment that are not me and that are not aligned with the man that I believe in, who I want to be as a man. All women should be supported and empowered to make their own decisions about their bodies and what is best for them. I am handling my personal matters privately and would not be commenting them on at any time. I'm sorry, men, this is not the way that we need to handle this stuff these days. If somebody puts something out to embarrass you because they put their personal issues out there, personal stuff out there, you didn't put your personal stuff out there, she did. So if she wants to put my personal stuff out there, then I get the opportunity to handle this. And I think the problem is too many men are taking the man route. You are taking the man route. You're not embarrassing these chicks. She's not wholesome. But nothing wholesome about what either one of y'all did. So neither one of y'all should be embarrassed about being wholesome. So I'm going to put it out there. Like, I told this, I don't want this bitch kid. And anybody who keeps saying, if you didn't want the kid, don't have sex, it was two parties that had sex. If you want to die, and I'm going to say you're willing to die to have this kid that I don't want, fine, I'm gonna pay for it. I will buy that. I will buy it out. But don't get mad when I'm not around. You made that choice. I have told you too often we are doing this shit. Eric, we already talked about the lineman giving out rancid dick. But this is the other part right here. This is why I was saying, my God, Blake. I'm not gonna tell you. Batty TV puts up this thing. I love Pivot. I love I Am Athlete. I love all of those different things. I hate liars. And there's an app, believe it or not. If you go to the last tweet one, it's probably easier to control it because it's the same video. So you guys, anybody in here know what Tinder is, right? I'm giving more trade secrets for people who don't know. Tinder is an app where you can go on and you can date. There is a Tinder for athletes and celebrities. Like, they have to verify you. And I would have never believed this until I got the documentation proving it. And a kid that's close to me, he didn't give it to me, but he was having the conversation. And that jit turned down a great opportunity. This jit turned down Simone Biles. Simone Biles, and just so you can see, Miles, that's the app. That's Simone Biles.
Wow.
And the check mark means that she matched with him. She checked him. You know what was messed up about that moment with Simone Biles? And she checked and she's on that app. And this is why I tell people, don't believe it. She was dating my man's teammate. We'll push play on this so we can listen to this fake fabricated story of a guy who acted like he didn't know who the fuck Simone Biles was. It was a good lie, though. But he's light skin with good hair, light eyes. They do this shit. These are the women that the women fall for. But push it.
Days, man, and it's like she pops up, and I'm like, let me see who this is. Gymnastics. I ain't never, I never really paid attention to gymnastics, so it piqued my curiosity, So I'm like, okay, I'll see what's up. I swiped her, and it said we matched, so I'm just like, oh, okay, so I'm gonna see what's up. So I go do my workout. And
actually,
I come back,
Blake, can I post it if I just take the names out? Since technically he is just proving that this app exists. I need to know legal, Blake. Can I post this? Because I'm looking at it right now, and he swiped, and now I'm mad. You know what I'm mad about? I'm not mad at this liar, this guy this third string tight end for Green Bay. That saying that doesn't understand that his girlfriend or wife or whatever, they just got married, is more famous. I'm mad that this story, and this is why you don't trust these women. Women love to say, oh, he was banging me down, and then he said he couldn't talk to me no more, and he had his wedding the next week. That's what women love to say. I'm trying to figure out how long ago this was. Is there there's got to be like a thing where I can push to find the time and stuff on it, right? Damn it. There's got to be like a data point thing or some shit on here. Damn, I can't find it. All I know is that we haven't had Sports Den for 2 years. This is why we were still doing Sports Den on 1010. It might have had to be 3 years ago. 3 years ago that this is what happened. So all I'm saying is that, brothers, take the same. All right, so Blake said it. Miles, I'm sending it to you. If you clip this right here, we are posting this. We are posting the goddamn the proof that Simone Biles is a hot bottom. Nothing wrong with that, though. I'm mad that my guy didn't take the opportunity. Dumbass. Has some good athletic children. All right. Now let's get to the to what people really, really want to talk about. FSU. Right now, FSU is having an emergency board of trustees meeting. Emergency board of trustees meeting where they're talking about the steps to get themselves out of the ACC, breaking the GOR. It's reported by every reputable news source with that's affiliated with FSU. Me and Chris with Sporadics have only been saying this shit for 2 years. Matter of fact, one of them, and what's wild is they're still defending that bullshit we talked about on Wednesday with Josh Farmer. Like they had a whole like episode where see Josh Farmer pulled himself out the transfer portal. Bitch, that ain't breaking news. That shit, his family said that shit on Monday that it wasn't true. But they're defending it. And one guy, Bud, says, why would this guy lie about this? Why would he do this? Why would he do that? He has the sources. I know he has the sources, blah, blah, blah. Well, Bud, you also said that Florida State was not going to get out of the ACC until 2036. And you spoke with such positivity and excitement that you knew you were going to be right and you're a fucking lawyer. This is why I always tell people, don't come to me saying, I'm a lawyer. That means absolutely fucking nothing. I know a lot of dumbass lawyers. All a lawyer means is that you were committed to paying 6 figures to get an education and for the opportunity to practice and lose cases. It's a reason why we know who the good lawyers are. It's because they are actually good at it. Most of us, if you're in your profession, you know a little bit more about the practical law in your profession than you do with your than your lawyer. Fair enough. Let me go find this. Miles, go on YouTube, find okay, do I have the link? FSU Board of Trustees. It should be an active link. Why not play it? We'll play it a little bit because right now I do have the minutes. I mean, how they're going about it. Where's my Blazing chat? Right now they're just doing a call to order and public comments. Oh, it's Zoom. I don't have the Zoom. Hold on. FSU BOT meeting. I don't want to take it from. Well, fuck it. I need to do what everybody else doing then. Everybody, yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't want to take it from these guys. Hold on. We may watch some of it. Yeah, I don't want to play it on theirs. You know what? This is what we're going to do. If Chris is watching it, if Chris is having it live on his. Oh, no, that's him just doing the big news. Well, fuck it. We're going to talk about this a little bit, then I'm going to let everybody bounce and go watch that shit. Is this on War Channel or we found the actual meeting?
This is from the Board of Trustees website.
All right, well, let's roll with that. That's because that didn't have no link on it. I'm good with that.
Baseball, basketball, golf, soccer, softball, and
we got this posted up.
Florida State has averaged 11th in the Learfield Directors Cup national rankings over the past 5 years for all
You'd
sports
make that
combined.
bigger.
And our women's sports have ranked in the top 5 nationally for the last 4 years. Perhaps most unique is that last year, Florida State was one of only 4 FBS programs with a top 10 football program, while also being ranked in the top 20 of all public institutions academically. There should be no debate that our brand, media value, and competitiveness across all sports are among the very best in collegiate athletics. When FSU joined the ACC in 1991, the gap in revenue between teams in some of the then Power 5 conferences and the ACC was less than $7 million annually. Florida State has always been able to overcome any such deficits through internal fundraising to make sure its programs are funded at elite levels. In fact, if you took the value of the various conference TV contracts out of last year's athletic budgets in the NCAA, Florida State's budget was the 7th highest in the nation. Unfortunately, at the same time, Florida State's annual payout from the ACC is the smallest in percentage of any school's overall athletic budget in the conference. Next year, the funding gap between the ACC and the 2 other conferences will grow to over $30 million per team per year. It's one thing to fundraise and make up $7 million. It's another entirely to annually make up over $30 to $40 million. As an institution, FSU cannot be expected to sit idly by while this gap grows. Or, as one of the other athletic directors in the conference said earlier this year, stop barking, pay your exit fee, and wait 13 years for your grant of rights to be up. I think everybody involved at Florida State expects much more from this board than to follow that advice. General Counsel Egan and our outside attorneys have been reviewing the ACC's grant of rights and other ACC ESPN-related documents for well over a year now. Agents of the university have made several trips to the ACC's offices to fully review and understand these documents. While we were reviewing these various documents, we stepped up discussions with the ACC regarding how it could and should increase revenue for its most valuable brands. We've pushed for unequal revenue distribution based on media value to the conference. And I can safely say that but for Florida State and a couple of other schools, the ACC would not have created the recent success initiatives for football. Today, we've reached a crossroad in our relationship with the ACC. We are faced with the fact that the ACC is locked into a deteriorating media rights contract at revenues far below other conferences. The ACC leadership is also not interested in further negotiations on unequal revenue sharing or larger success initiatives. More recently, the ACC voted over Florida State's objection to add 3 new teams that add no additional pro rata media value to the conference. In fact, these additions will more than likely reduce the per team payouts from the conference after the next contract is executed. At the same time, the ACC has the most draconian financial withdrawal penalties in college sports, put in place over a decade ago to keep schools from withdrawing. I don't use draconian flippantly. Today, while the ACC bylaws and constitution still allow for withdrawal, this ability is nothing more than a mirage, as it would cost any member over $500 million in direct fees and lost revenues today to leave. These penalties were put in place over a decade ago. The grant of rights was put under lock and key at the league office, and only when the financial underperformance got large enough did schools start to request to view it, ask meaningful questions, or begin to ponder its legality. I believe this board has been left no choice but to challenge the legitimacy of the ACC grant of rights and its severe withdrawal penalties. None of us like being in this position, and I know the president and our athletic director don't like being in this position. However, I believe that we have exhausted all possible remedies within the conference, and we must do what we believe is best for Florida State, not only in the short term, but in the long term. People outside of FSU may suggest that we are taking action now because of what happened in the College Football Playoff Committee's selection of the Final 4 teams. They will say that we're just bitter and we want retribution. First, I would say that leaving Florida State out of the playoff was absolutely wrong, a travesty on college football, and an insult to FSU's players and coaches, as well as the ACC. Second, I would say our actions today are less about the events of the last 2 weeks and far more about the actions of the ACC leadership over the past 10 years and what confronts FSU and the ACC over the next 13 years. All of you received the final version of the legal complaint a few days ago and have had individual briefings in the last couple of months. Today, we're going to hear from our outside legal counsel, Greenberg Traurig, represented here today by Mr. David Ashburn. Mr. Ashburn will go through the main points of the complaint and the individual counts in the complaint and answer any remaining questions that you have. David, thank you for being with us today, and thank you for your firm's work on this over the past year. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am David Ashburn, the managing shareholder of the Tallahassee office of Greenberg Traurig, and it is truly a privilege and an honor to work with you all on this difficult and challenging matter. The chairman, I think, laid things out extremely well, that this is not a recent reaction. This is a matter that's been building for some time now, and I'd like to spend just a couple minutes going back through that. First off, a fundamental background to this matter is that the ACC has a constitution and bylaws, and is also in court filings made commitments. It's committed to generate substantial revenues, to foster quality competitive opportunities for student athletes and championships, to maximize athletic opportunities, and to be at the forefront in athletic achievement. And unfortunately, the ACC has failed in all those respects. The ACC and ESPN first entered into a media rights agreement in 2010. In 2011, at that time, there was no withdrawal penalty. In 2011, the ACC amended its constitution to impose a withdrawal fee of 1.25 times the ACC's annual operating budget. Put that in the constitution, and it purportedly made some estimation of what the damage to the conference would be were a member to leave. Pretty quickly, in 2012, ACC and ESPN renegotiated some of those terms in that 2010 agreement. It only addressed Tier 1 rights, and it put in place a payment of approximately $12 million per member in place for 15 years. The only increases were to be a 4.5% annual increase, made no allowance for any type of market condition change, and stuck the ACC with that level of payment. Pretty quickly, in September 12 of 2012, the ACC again amended its constitution. This time they increased the withdrawal fee by 240% to 3 times the actual operating budget. There was no pretense, no argument about how this supposed damage to the conference had increased by 240% in just a year, but nevertheless, that number was imposed. Even at that number, which in practice, given the ACC's budget at that time, was over $52 million, that was not enough to keep Maryland from leaving the ACC to join the Big Ten. The ACC reacted very quickly to file suit against Maryland, and that suit is where we have some valuable information in terms of the ACC acknowledging its contractual rights, and more importantly, the court acknowledging and specifically labeling the withdrawal fee as a penalty. And that's going to be important for reasons we'll discuss in our counts of our complaint. In 2013, the ACC adopted the grant of rights and also made it effective through 2027. Unlike the withdrawal penalty, the ACC did not amend its constitution to put the grant of rights in place. This was materialized in secret and put in place, and none of the members, and this is also important for our complaint, received any consideration for entering into this grant of rights. And most importantly, with respect to the damage that this causes to members who choose to exercise their fundamental constitutional right to withdraw, is that it provides that the media's member rights are still owned by the ACC, even if they leave the conference. Virtually, as the chairman said, barricading the door to any withdrawals. In 2013, also, the ACC members learned that ESPN is negotiating with the SEC to create and launch an SEC prestige network. The ACC and its consultants, at the request of the members who also wanted to have a prestige network, made the case to the ACC that such a network should be developed. At this point, we're already 7 years behind the Big Ten, which had a prestige network since 2006. That SEC ESPN effort culminated pretty quickly in a prestige network for the SEC, and that launched in August of 2014. In the meantime, in June, the ACC and ESPN entered into a second amendment of the 2010 ESPN agreement, and it also encompassed only Tier 1 rights. It did include a non-binding framework for the ESPN launch of the ACC network. Once again, the ACC is getting something that's non-binding and not a meaningful consideration. In June of 2016, the ACC members are told by the ESPN that network, the Prestige Network, is not going to launch for another 3 years, once again delayed. And even at that, the expectation is we'll now be 5 years behind the SEC and 13 years behind the Big Ten in developing that Prestige Network. Also, in June of 2016, the ACC represented to its members that ESPN had issued an ultimatum that unless the members extend the grant of rights from 2027 to 2036, ESPN will enter no further media agreements with ACC. FSU agrees to the extension of the grant of rights based on this representation, based on the expectation that is being told the truth about an ESPN ultimatum. We don't believe that holds water. In July 2016, the ACC and ESPN did replace the 2010 ESPN subsequently amended multimedia agreement and entered into new network and Tier 1 and Tier 3, meaning the Prestige Network agreements. Under those agreements, the ACC does not get better payments for its Tier 1 rights. Instead, the ACC locked its members into rates negotiated in 2012 through 36, 24 years. So the ACC is stuck with the same revenue package for 24 years. In the meantime, the other Power Four conferences have negotiated far more lucrative media rights agreements with shorter terms. In fact, both the Big Ten and SEC agreements with ESPN will terminate 2 years and 4 years prior to that 2036 expiration. Importantly, that right to extend the contract from 2027 to 2036 is unilateral for ESPN. In other words, we're locked down. We have no, as a conference, ability to go out and negotiate any better deal with anyone else until we find out if the ESPN is going to exercise that 9-year option. And so we have actually no guaranteed payments during that period. But the option is to not increase the payments to the ACC, but again, leaves in place that 2012 negotiated number or metric through 2036, again, 24 years. We simply don't think the ultimatum that was represented to the ACC members makes any sense. The fact that neither the Tier 1 or the network agreements that were negotiated include any reference or incorporate the 2016 grant of rights, which you would expect in the event that that ultimatum produced agreement and the grant of rights was so critical. Also, the fact that the 2016 ESPN agreements specifically contemplate the withdrawal and addition of members without any financial repercussions as long as the ACC has at least 15 members. So there's no need for the ESPN agreements to address withdrawals and additions if the ACC has to own all those media rights through 2036. In August of 2019, finally, the ACC network is launched. That triggers a requirement that the ESPN exercise that 9-year option within 2 years. 2 years comes, and instead of requiring the ESPN to either extend as they're able to under the agreement or negotiate another agreement, inexplicably, the ACC commissioner signed an amendment to that 2016 agreement to expand that option window to February of 25. The ACC and its members got nothing, no consideration for agreeing to that additional time to exercise that what we believe to be harsh expansion. In the meantime, 2021 and 2022 other Power Four conferences sign far more lucrative media rights agreements. In June of 23, USC and UCLA leave the Pac-12 and for the Big Ten, followed by Oregon and Washington. And then in September of 23, over the strenuous objections of FSU and other ACC members, the ACC added 3 members. The new members are widely respected academic institutions, but not strong Tier 1 media appeal, don't have strong Tier 1 media appeal in football. And as the chairman said, the result of that is to actually diminish the bargaining power of the ACC for its media rights. So what's the sum of all that? The sum of all that is we presented this in graphic form. Are we able to project that on the screen? Yes. Okay. All right. The sum of all that is depicted in this chart and graph. So in 2010, we start out, there is no penalty for a member to leave. In a short couple of years, it goes to over 21 million, then to 52 million. And I think it's important here to note that what's the constraint on the increase of that penalty at 3 times the operating budget? None. We see none. The ACC could substantially expand its budget and then take the position that that penalty is even greater. Then we come to 2013 with the grant of rights, which essentially locks up the members' rights. And if at that time you had determined what the penalty package would be to a withdrawing member, it was over $234 million. But today, because of the grant of rights, because of locking up our rights for so long, a 2023 withdrawing member is subject to a penalty package of over $570 million. So let's talk about our complaint and what our counts are in that complaint. First off, we are alleging that the penalty package, both the grant of rights individually and in conjunction with the severe withdrawal penalty, is a violation of Florida statutes. Under Florida law, agreements in restraint of trade, and these certainly are in restraint of trade, given that we have no ability to exercise a fundamental right of withdrawal, they don't fit any exception that's in the statute. So given that there's no exception and given that it's a contract in restraint of trade, it violates Florida law. This is a restraint of trade. Sometimes people refer to it as antitrust as well. The second count we have is that this is an unenforceable penalty. Both the grant of rights individually and the severe withdrawal penalty are collectively an unenforceable penalty. Under the law, parties can agree in advance in their contracts to estimate what damages would be in the event of a breach. And you've often heard the term probably liquidated damages. And that's intended to approximate what the harm is to the party that is harmed by a breach of the contract. What you can't do is you can't put in place a penalty that bears no relationship to the harm caused. Courts give a little bit of leeway on these things because you're estimating something early in time, but this blows far past any notion of harm to the conference. In fact, with the addition of the 3 members, the only reduction in the ESPN agreements would be the share that FSU is currently paid. If FSU were to withdraw, it would simply be that. The ESPN would still pay those per member amounts that they're already paying. In fact, that's what we saw with the addition of the 3 members, which those 3 members who had been passed over by other conferences have now agreed to portions of their rights fees will be distributed among the members. In the case of one of the joining members, they'll actually forfeit all of their rights, all of their media revenues to the conference. So we believe it's an unenforceable penalty. It's important to note that the unenforceability of the penalty drives that number to 0. So if the court determines that it's an unreasonable penalty, it doesn't attempt to reform the penalty and say, well, 570 million is too much, but we think 20 million is a number or any other number. Instead, the court invalidates the penalty and it is 0. There is a 0 penalty at that point. So that's an important part of that claim. Next is a breach of contract claim. And we've listed out a number of instances of breach of contract in the complaint, and I only want to highlight a few of those here today. And again, the contract is the Constitution and bylaws of the ACC, as long as they're acknowledged contractual commitments to its members. So first and foremost, the ACC has failed to appropriately give FSU the value of its athletic program media rights. In fact, they diluted those rights going forward. Also, they amended the 2016 Tier 1 agreement without securing the approval of 2/3 of its directors as required by ACC bylaws. The ACC extended for no consideration the unilateral ESPN 9-year option under that 2016 agreement, taking it all the way out to 2025 for that exercise period. They committed to an unheard of period of 20 years for media rights. And as I said before, other conferences have 2 and sometimes 3 bites at the apple as to what their media rights are being valued at in contracts compared to what FSU has faced, having been stuck with that 2012 negotiation. Our next complaint count is for breach of fiduciary duty. It tracks in many respects the contractual obligations that the ACC does have fiduciary duties to its members. We also have included a count for fundamental failure of frustration of contractual purpose. I think the title of that says it quite well. The whole purpose of the relationship and the contract with the ACC was for them to appropriately look out for their members, and also to maximize their revenues. And they've utterly failed to do that. The last count is for unconscionability and violation of public policy. Clearly, it's not consistent with public policy to impose the penalties and inferior contracts on FSU that the league has done. So we're prepared to file this complaint today, and we're hopeful that you will authorize us to do so. And I welcome any questions.
Thank you, David. I want to go to the president and ask President McCullough if he would like to comment at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I would like to thank the board members for assembling today on short notice. This obviously is an extremely serious matter. I want to make sure that everyone understands that I fully support the board's decision. If they decide to take this legal action, I would support it. We have, as Chairman Collins has said, we've been working on this for a long time and making this consideration. I've said from the very beginning that all options are on the table for Florida State University to maximize our potential. As a fiduciary for this university, I find that after exploring all options, I feel that we are left with only this option as a way to maximize our potential as an athletics department, and it's best for Florida State University. We, like as the chairman said, we've been working on this for probably over a year now. It is difficult because the contracts are not available to us, and so if we want to view them, we have to go to the conference office and look at them, which I don't really understand exactly why somebody would operate in that way. That's sort of not the way business is generally done. One wonders if that's a protection mechanism or what, I don't know. But it takes a lot of work. When we view these contracts, we can't make copies of them, and so it's laborious for us to do this investigation. But we have looked at it. We've considered all the options. I've spoken with, I think, everybody on the board, I believe, or Chairman Collins has, and I appreciate all of your support. As Chairman Collins said, I want to make sure that people understand that we're in the sunshine, so we're doing this publicly because we're required by law. That's something that got lost last time. And, this is certainly not where I would prefer to have ended up. I think that I would prefer a different pathway, but I feel that we have, in many ways, exhausted all our options because these things are timely, and you can't wish and hope that somehow they'll get fixed in the next year, 2, 3, 4, 5. By that time, I don't think that we'll be competitive. The bottom line is there's no reason to hide it. Collegiate sports is supported by financial revenue that comes into the university, and that revenue supports the ability of our programs to compete at the highest levels. It's just factual, and that is the situation that we have. For us to remain competitive, I think maybe in 20 years, I think we've obviously shown that we can compete with the best of them. We were 13-0 and were denied a CFP spot. Obviously, we did our part, but we missed the CFP Invitational. So, you know, it's time for us to try to do something about it. As Chairman Collins said, this is not a reaction. This is something that we've done a lot of due diligence on. We've spent a lot of time looking at it very carefully. We've considered all the aspects. And at the end of the day, as David so wonderfully presented to us, we don't have, it's not reasonable for us to freely decide the fate of our athletics program. And without that, that means we're essentially bound by this onerous penalty, which was created completely superfluously by the ACC. So I thank you all very much for all you do for the university. I wish that we were at a different position and a different place, but we are not. And we need to do what's best for this university and for our athletics department.
Thank you, Mr. President. AD Alford, would you like to comment at this time before we go to Q&A?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman, and thank you, President, for your comments, and Chairman for your opening comments. And thank you, Councilor Ashburn, for a very well-prepared presentation. Appreciate all your hard work on it. As I sit there and listen to it, you know, some of it we had discussed, some I hadn't heard before, and it really points to the mismanagement of previous conference administration in stewarding future finances for our best interests. It became very clear. You know, the future of college athletics is really at a crossroads. I think Chairman and I talk about that a lot. President and I talk about that a lot. Whether it's known media contracts that present financial challenges or proposed recent changes by the NCAA, that's going to impact everyone in this industry's operation budgets moving forward. Here at Florida State, we have to evaluate all of our options and make decisions here that are going to have a 10, 20-year impact on us. And some of those we don't even see or feel in the immediate effects of it. But as I sit here, you know, this isn't a relationship decision or an issue at all. It is a simple math problem, a very clear math problem. And it's an extremely difficult institutional decision, but us completely support the board's vote.
Thank you, AD Alford. I'm going to open it up to questions now from the trustees to Mr. Ashburn on the complaint. As I said, most of you had your one-on-ones. Everybody was offered. I'm not sure if we had 100% participation in the one-on-one, but you all certainly have had the complaint for a little while now. You've heard the presentation from Mr. Ashburn, and I would just open it up to questions from the trustees of Mr. Ashburn.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Trustee Weatherford.
Thank you very much. First, I just want to thank you for your leadership on this. I think on behalf of myself and the rest of the board, we can all agree that there's no better Noel who loves this university more than you, and the time, energy, and effort you put into this is astounding. I don't know how you have a day job anymore. And the same goes for you, President McCullough. I appreciate your leadership on this issue and just recognizing the importance of athletics. We know as one of the top academic institutions, this is just one of many issues that you have to deal with. But in my view, athletics is the heartbeat of our university and of every university for that matter. So thank you for making it a priority. One thing that I'm really hung up on is, and has been frustrating to me in the process, and I think would be good for all of us to have a better understanding of, is the grant of rights. I've been dying to get my hands on it and to actually read it. Who has, other than, I'm assuming, Carolyn Egan has been up there. Can someone describe to me why it's so difficult for us to actually get a copy of this? I've been frustrated by my inability to fully understand what that agreement looks like. And I think it would just be important for the board to understand, and frankly, the general public to understand the challenges it is to get access to that document.
Mr. Chairman, may I answer?
Please, Council Egan.
Sure. We have unexecuted copies of the 2013 and 2016 grant of rights that I got off the internet, actually. And they are available on the internet from various places they have turned up. What I don't have is a fully executed copy of any of the grant of rights. So we don't have a complete contract to work from on the grant of rights. We haven't been given it. And no one has, as far as I know, the multimedia rights agreement. So two different things we're talking about. The grant of rights itself, the two versions of it, 2013 and 2016. I think some have been passed around online as these things go these days, but I don't have an official complete copy. One that I can rely on is verified and complete, but I do have what the internet has. But the multimedia rights agreement is what is kept largely. I have never seen floating around in the internet or anywhere else, and that is kept at the conference office.
So, Councilor Egan, is it safe to say that when previous boards were making decisions on this contract, they also didn't have visibility to this multimedia rights agreement?
That's true. The conference, the multimedia rights agreement is between the conference and the network only, and there's not a direct participation in that negotiation. What Mr. Ashburn talked about earlier about the conference is your agent to do your highest and best negotiation at the table in their contract with the network. So we do not have a seat at that table, but our agent is supposed to execute their duties for us.
Got it. And last question, in order to access it, my understanding is that you have actually been up to the conference headquarters. Can you describe to us how you have to go about accessing that document?
Sure, it is heavily monitored. There is a representative of the conference in the room with us at the time that we review it. We are not permitted to take photos or verbatim text. So I have the personal recollection of it.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, thank you. Trustee Thiel?
I just had a sort of a general question. If in an event, if that's the case, if they're the sole agent.
He's frozen.
I know.
We're going to go to Trustee De Las Cuevas Diaz, and then we'll come back to Trustee Thiel.
Sorry, Trustee Thiel. Thank you, Chairman. Just as a point of clarification, Carolyn, I know we've all seen the quote unquote copies on the internet, but since we actually don't have an executed copy, we're not even sure that what's on the internet is accurate and the executed copy, correct?
Trustee De Las Cuevas Diaz is our resident board member attorney, which is such a gift to me. And she knows that a contract that you would, or document you would rely on in court would be a true, accurate, and correct copy that would have original signatures on it, preferably in blue ink, so that you know that they're original.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a question? Okay. So David, if you would walk us through the next steps. So let's say that we approve this filing today. Talk to us about the timeline.
Sure. So the next step is immediately following this meeting, we're prepared to file the complaint in circuit court in Tallahassee. Since you're represented by counsel, you're actually required to file electronically, which is what we're doing. Just court processes being what they are, we will get an email acknowledgement today of the filing, but it's at least probably likely that the case will not be assigned a case number and not be available in the court's website until possibly the day after Christmas. But nevertheless, the next step is we will serve the complaint. I think it's reasonable to expect we can hopefully find some cooperation in the ACC actually receiving service of the complaint, as opposed to having a sheriff have to deliver it. Hopefully their counsel will accept service. They will then be required to file a response to the complaint. I don't want to speculate as to what their legal strategy will be, but that sets in motion the litigation process where we have the opportunity to gather additional information, request and obtain actual copies of agreements that we otherwise have to go to the ACC office to eyeball, and then have the opportunity to review those. And then it's hopeful, I think, that we can have some meaningful discussions. I think it's reasonable to expect that other schools are going to read this story and the complaint that some of them may have read before and or understood before, and some may not. So I can't speculate as to what those outcomes will be. But we have not asked for any immediate relief from the court. In other words, there's not going to be a preliminary injunction hearing or anything of that nature that we request. We're simply going to pursue the normal course of litigation, and depending on how that goes with the cooperation we get from the other side, again, requesting documents, providing documents as requested, and moving forward.
Trustee Thiel, I see you're back. Did you want to try again on your question?
Yeah, I apologize. It's really a simple question. It just makes it clear in my mind. As agent, then there's a clear fiduciary duty that a conference would accept in that position.
Yes, we believe so. And in fact, the ACC, that is part of the issue. I appreciate the question, because certainly it's reasonable for FSU and the other members to rely on the conference to fulfill its fiduciary duties, to obtain proper expertise and consultants. They retain them. We relied on their representations. As I mentioned before in my discussion about the ultimatum, we certainly relied on the truth of those representations. And so we do believe there was a breach of fiduciary duty in several instances that we talked about.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Chairman Collins, I just want to say that, the internet's a wonderful place. And when you read the comments, I just want to reiterate what you said. This is not retaliatory. This is something that has been thought out. For those of them that forgot the memory of our meeting in August, this was discussed before anything had ever happened. And, in a perfect world, obviously being the lawyer, we would love a negotiation, but that wasn't afforded to us. So we are doing what's in the best interest of the university at this moment. But it's not a easy decision. It's not one that we haven't thought of. And it's not personal against any other university within the conference. And I think it's just important for everybody to understand that this is a decision to hopefully better our situation as a university on something that we just feel that the only next step is this. And I want to thank, you, the president, our lawyers, both in-house and out, because it's taken many, many hours to get here. And it's not something taken lightly. So thank you. And, this is truly for the best interest of Florida State.
Thank you. And I agree with that. And I'm going to reiterate one more time. None of us would like to or look forward to doing this in public, but we have no choice. right? Sunshine Law, there's a lot of other states that don't have the laws that we have and the constitutional aspects of the Sunshine Law. We have no choice but to do this publicly. So I just want to reiterate that again. Councilor Egan, any closing comments or thoughts before we ask people to vote on this?
No, sir. Just my appreciation for this board's love of Florida State and application of their expertise, their thorough consideration of this. The questions I have gotten have been astute, critical, looked at this every way possible, and I appreciate everything the board has done to support me.
Well, we appreciate it. And I'll do some of those thank yous at the end here. But so for us to move forward, we need a motion to approve the initiation of the 7-count FSU versus ACC lawsuit as explained by Mr. Ashburn.
Motion to approve.
Second, John Thiel.
Second, Trustee Thiel. Anybody opposed to this? Okay, seeing none, it passes. So Mr. Ashburn, please move forward and file the lawsuit. I just want, again, I want to thank everybody. Everybody on my screen right now has spent countless hours on this. And I just appreciate everybody's commitment to FSU and commitment to understanding this and a lot of other things that we haven't talked about today. I really appreciate the president digging in on this and AD Alford digging in on this. As I said, they have to deal with the other presidents and the other athletic directors. We don't have to do that. And I know that this probably puts them in a difficult position. But they're fiduciaries at Florida State, and their job is to protect Florida State. And so I know we've made your life probably a little bit difficult, Mr. President and AD Alford, but I'm not apologizing for it. And I don't think any of us are apologizing for it. But I know at the same time you're up to it. So I really appreciate your time and your effort on this. And I appreciate all the trustees. Here we are, 3 days before Christmas and during the holidays, and everybody's traveling. And I appreciate everybody's attendance today. As we do in every meeting, there's time for open discussion. I don't know if anybody else has anything that they want to talk about. We have another board meeting coming up at the end of January. But if anybody has something that they want to comment on now, I'll give you that chance.
Chairman Collins?
Yes.
Thank you. I guess the last thing that my last comment will really be centered around a couple things. One, if nothing else, I hope this demonstrates to our fans, to our alum, and to our student athletes just the commitment that our board has around athletics. We had a meeting before the season started where we kind of all agreed that we did not want to continue in an environment where we're simply playing games and not competing for championships. Never in a million years did I think that we could actually go undefeated and be in the situation that we're in. And so ultimately what we're fighting for here is not just our own interests at FSU, in my opinion. I also think we're just fighting for the spirit of the true competitive spirit. All we're looking for is an equitable, competitive environment where teams that are competing for a championship are waking up and playing by the same rules. And that's just frankly not the environment that we're currently in. And so I commend the entire board for being for working so hard on this and being so committed to it, because in my mind, albeit we are looking out for the best interest of our student athletes and our university, we're also fighting for just equitable competition, which I think everybody can get behind and be supportive of. Because without leveling the playing field, there's literally going to be, 50 to 70 schools waking up every year pretending to be competing for something they really have no chance to compete for. And that's not an environment that I think fans want, that alumni want, or frankly, even the conferences want for that matter. So the system is broken. I view this as us doing our part to look out for ourselves, but also take a step in the right direction to try to fix the system so that every student athlete actually has a chance to be rewarded for the hard work that they put in for, in some cases, decades. my heart breaks for our team, just knowing what it's like to go through all of that and to be disappointed in the end. So I commend you all. I'm obviously very passionate about this issue, being a former student athlete, and I'm excited about us doing a small part in hopefully fixing the overall system.
Thank you.
Chairman Collins, may I?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say, because it didn't get brought up, but it's obvious with this, the revenue generating sports obviously fund the entire athletic program. And we've done so much work on Title IX. And as a dad of a daughter who played sports and hopefully grandchildren, women's, we play sports. We just had the national championship in Tampa of the women's volleyball, right? Where you saw these incredible young women just play their hearts out. And one of the greatest source of my pride for Florida State over the last 10 years has been our women's sports program, which you mentioned its prowess. And to think about the impact of this on continuing that legacy to me is critical. So yes, it's about football, but it's the engine that drives all this other source of pride and impact on young women at Florida State University. So I just, as everyone has said, this is just so critical to our future and to the future of everyone in athletics, not just a football program.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, they just had the national championship in volleyball, but our women's soccer team just won its own national championship. So don't forget that one. Well, I appreciate everybody. I appreciate everybody's time. I hope everybody has a great holiday and doesn't think about this for the next week or so. And we'll see you. I'll see many of you at the bowl game down at the Orange Bowl. And with that, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Happy holidays. Go Noles.
Thank you all.
Happy holidays. Go Noles.
Thank you.